Welcome to episode 2 of Empathic Action, a YouTube channel devoted to stories of everyday heroes doing good in the world. I'm your host, Anita Nowak. Last November, Beirut was attacked by 2 suicide bombers, and the very next day, Paris fell under siege, when multiple terrorists struck the city simultaneously. The response to these tragedies fell into one of 2 camps: fear and division on one hand, empathy and inclusion on the other. Here's one response that went viral, put out to the world by Generation Why Not? Today you'll meet Henry, who's just launched a startup to stop young men and women from joining ISIS by leveraging the power of empathy. Henry lived through some painful teen years himself, so he has a special understanding about why ISIS recruitment efforts have been so effective. Hi, this is Anita Nowak for Empathic Action. I'm here with Henry Chim, who is an everyday hero up to great work. And Henry, thanks for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having me here, Anita.
I want to hear what your project is about. Tell us what its name is and what the mission is and the big vision for the future.
Absolutely. So, really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to stop young men and women from joining ISIS from all over the world. It's not very well known that 37,000 people from across the world have gone to Syria to be a part of ISIS. 6,600 of them are from Western countries, and they come from over 100 different nations. So, we have a global phenomena that is not yet well understood. As a big result of that, we aren't able to stop it from happening. And these are young people that just find themselves waking up one day in Syria, realizing they've made a huge mistake, and that's what I'm trying to stop.
So I'm really keen to dig into this story a little bit and profile you as what I call an empathic action hero, because I think the work that you're doing is so important, but I also know that it touches you personally. And from what I know of you, you have a story from your own youth and life, and then a story when you were living in Pakistan that really has led to the creation of this organization. So could you walk me through these stories?
Yeah, you bet. As you mentioned, it really started, the roots of this started when I was like a very young person in suburban Calgary, Canada. Chinese, Canadian, trying to figure out my way in a very, very Caucasian part of the country. And I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. So, I spent a lot of my youth just in front of the computer, talking to friends online that, I played video games with, and that was how I spent my youth.
So I know a lot of people in North America can remember the moment that the towers went down on 9/11, and they can place themselves within context what they were doing and how that moment impacted their lives. Could you walk me through the school shooting and what happened to you as a person and what happened to Pakistan as a nation from your perspective?
Absolutely. I remember actually that day as vividly as the day I was in high school when the 2 towers came down. And it was complete shock, right? First it was, hearing about what happened from coworkers and almost like reacting in a state of denial. Like, how could something like, this terrible actually happen in this day and age? When this horrible event happened, I kind of closed my eyes and just envisioned a room full of candles, 132 of them. And I just imagined these candles being blown out in a single blow, all the potential of these kids, like everything. It was really sad. It was sad for me, it was sad for everybody around me. And I remember the first kind of reaction in the broader kind of society of Pakistan was just people were horrified by what happened. How could this happen? And there was grievance, there was sadness, those anger. We saw people, take to the streets and protest against the government. We saw this huge emotional reaction to what had happened. The Pakistani government forced all of the schools in the country to build walls with barbed wire fences on top. And I actually recall watching my boss drop off his daughter at school. This was a high-end school. And I just, could imagine in my mind when I closed my eyes, her walking through that door of this massive gate, a metal gate with barbed wire fences overhead. And that was her, going to her school. It felt like the kids of Pakistan were basically going to prison.
Not too dissimilar from the American model of kids walking through metal detectors on their way to school, right? I mean, in totally different contexts, but the same idea of children not feeling safe in a place of learning, right?
Absolutely.
So you had this very pivotal moment in your life overseas, and you can recollect what it felt like to feel on the outside as an other, alienated, playing video games in your basement. So what do you think about young men and women who are being called to this movement, this ISIS movement? You can relate to them, and how do you think you want to sort of provide a counterbalance for that?
At the end of the day, I mean, all human beings want a sense of community. That's part of what drew me to Pakistan, was because, doing so could, help me find other people like me who wanted to make the world a better place. And I was willing to go to a country perceived as so dangerous because I really wanted to find like-minded people. And likewise in my youth, when I was just sitting in my basement playing video games, I had loyalties to gaming clans. Like, I was like Team Zero forever, Mastas forever, nobody mess. Because I was like, this was my family, this was my community. And I feel that when I read about, people, young men and women who end up going to Syria, or even just supporting ISIS from Australia, the UK, wherever they happen to be, I feel that they're doing exactly the same thing. And I mean, this is kind of verified when you actually look into the profiles, you read the stories. The path is always very similar. Someone, very disenfranchised and lonely, they're young, they go online to try and find like-minded people. And the ISIS community kind of prides itself in extending warmth and companionship to people who are a part of this collective. So I mean, as a young, teenager, to get like just affection showered on you from 5 or 6 different people at once saying you're great, you're an awesome human being, like, come join us, we're cool too. And it's not like this is malicious, a malicious way of them recruiting. It's just they're a tribe. They're coming together as like-minded people, around one thing that eventually leads them down a very dark path. But up until that point, I mean, what's happening is it's just community.
So it sounds like a really sophisticated use of psychology in their recruiting process. So this calls you personally. The need is great in society. What are you really doing, practically speaking, to create change in the world?
So my organization called We Unify is really a stand for a world where everybody feels, included, heard, and empowered for change. It's a community made up of just everyday people who, at some point in their life, had that sinking gut feeling of being left out, marginalized, excluded because of the way they, appear or what they believe in. But when they become a part of the We Unify community, they can find like-minded people who knows how that feels, and they can stand together to make sure that doesn't happen to anybody else. So we believe that universities are little micro ecosystems where, we want to start building these chapters and kind of training up the young people of our society to embrace these values of inclusion and to take action to make a more inclusive society within their own kind of regional areas. And I mean, we want these We Unify chapters to almost be like a mini United Nations on campus, where we would want, representatives from every ethnicity and religion and, belief to come together in one place with a unified goal of how do we make this place more welcoming for everybody. And once that's built up, then, I think we're going to have a network of tens of thousands of students across the world, in campuses across the world, who believe in these values, can share with each other, and can make real impact across the world to make sure that no one feels left out.
Put you on the spot, Henry.
Okay.
I'm going to turn to the camera.
Sure.
There must be young boys and girls, teens, young 20-somethings that are watching this video, maybe even a parent or a sibling or an aunt that thinks that somebody in their life should get involved. What would you like to say to them?
So We Unify is an inclusive community. Everybody is welcome. And at the end of the day, each and every single human being on this planet knows that feeling of being left out, marginalized, excluded, whether, you got pushed out of a social circle for something or you got dumped after your second date. I mean, it's a really terrible feeling. And in those moments come kind of our darkest thoughts about the world, about, ourselves. But it's also those moments that we have as a common ground to relate to each other. And if you've ever felt that way before, then you know how it feels when someone else gets pushed aside because of the way they appear and what they believe in. And I really think that you have a role to play to be someone who could stand up with that person in solidarity and make sure they don't feel that gut-wrenching, awful feeling in their soul as well. So do come and join the We Unify community. You can visit our website, weunify.org, and reach out to us. And you can start a chapter, you can join an existing chapter. We would love to talk to you about how you can stand for a world where everybody is heard, included, and empowered for change.
There have been nearly a dozen terrorist attacks in the past few weeks. Some cities, like Brussels, you know. Others you may not have heard of, but they all share something in common. Innocent human beings, just like you and me, and far too many children that it breaks my heart, are dying needlessly at the hands of terror. Some have resolved to fight back with fear and hatred. Others, like Henry, are fighting back with empathy and inclusion. I'd like to end this episode of Empathic Action with some food for thought. Martin Luther King Jr. once famously said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." And Desmond Tutu believes, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join us next time when you'll meet an incredible group of university students who launched an online tutoring program for Syrian refugees who want to improve their English. Until then, remember that anyone can become more empathic with practice. So be on the lookout for empathic action opportunities. They're everywhere.